I care about helping people understand why Bitcoin mining is important to the network as a whole. I believe in Bitcoin and I believe in Bitcoin mining. And I also believe that if you want to mine Bitcoin, if you want to play a part in the Bitcoin mining network, you can. You can figure out how to do it. You can do it from a BitX. You can do it from a heat reuse standpoint. You can build a Bitcoin mining farm if you want to. So where I see me coming into this role is like, everyone has a voice, everyone has a perspective. And if I give you my perspective, if I lend my voice to the conversation, you might pick something up from me that has a downstream effect on the way that you perceive the world, the way that you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, your own worth, your own energy. And this is something that Bitcoin has taught me, is that like we all trade our life force, our energy, our time for money. And when that money is fundamentally broken, you're throwing away your life force. And people don't like to look at it that
Whoa.
way. But
Whoa. Deep. We're getting deep.
if you're throwing away your life force, your time means nothing. And that means your life means nothing. And people don't want to hear that.
Woo,
People don't want to
buddy.
hear that. But if you're saving and you're putting your energy into something that cannot be debased, cannot be stolen from you, cannot be fundamentally broken, then all of a sudden your life means a whole hell of a lot more, and you can choose to do with it what you want to do with it. Now, Bitcoin mining takes that whole dynamic just a little bit further, because instead of just partaking in the network, you're participating in the network. You are not only a consumer, you are now a producer. And that changes the way, one more time, it's like one more notch in the belt of like you becoming a sovereign individual and you having your own thoughts and you thinking individually. It takes it one step further. And you can play the tiniest part in that. You can run your own node, you can run a BitX, and you are participating in the network. You are producing in the network. And that is what I see the Build a Mind podcast as, is a way to have these conversations, talk to people who are doing really cool things, and just give a little bit of perspective from my own life into somebody else's life.
Wow. That is extremely deep and very insightful, the way you phrase all that. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it essentially just becomes a lifestyle at that point. You're
Yeah.
sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your insights. And I think that's extremely important because, I mean, let's take Bitcoin out of the equation for a second, as far as just a community, as far as just society speaking to one another, speaking and then hearing one another's opinions. It's like, hey, like, this is what I think. I mean, that's just such an underrated thing that I don't believe that we do as effectively anymore. So what you're doing, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing, but then from obviously Bitcoin perspective, but obviously tying into more real world value as
Well, and
well.
I agree with you completely. If you look at any problem in the world, it could be solved by having a conversation, understanding each other's point of view, and finding common ground in the middle. But we do not, like, we as a society, we do not know how to put our differences aside and listen and hear someone. We all, like, I like to think of it like this, okay? You look at a diamond, okay? Diamonds have different faucets. They have different faces of the diamond. And if you shine a light through that diamond, that light shines off in all different directions. Okay. Human beings, we are all faucets of the same diamond. Okay. The light, the information, the energy is coming down and it's shining off in different directions. But instead of saying like, oh, like, I see your point of view, your perspective, the way that you have lived your life and you've gotten to your perspective, I have a different perspective. This is my perspective. What can we do to meet in the middle? We sit here, instead of doing that, we sit here and we shout at each other. We yell and we scream and we tell, well, this is my opinion and my opinion is better than yours and my opinion is right. And who gives a about what your opinion is? There's no way to have like growth in society if we can't understand that we all live different lives. We're all different people and we all we have different perspectives. And so like with podcasting, now we can listen to the perspective of someone else and get a little bit of insight into their life and the way that they live and the way they see the world. And maybe that shapes the way that we live our life, the way that we do things. Like I listen to Joe Rogan, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
I am not going to
Totally.
work out the way that Joe Rogan works out.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
happening. He's
yeah, yeah,
insane.
yeah.
However, there are some things that he says where I'm like, well, I could do that. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not gonna work out, 3 or 4 hours a day every single day,
Yeah,
but
that
I'll
that
work
guy's
out
on
a
something
couple.
else. He's
Exactly.
on
But like
something else.
you have the ability with podcasting to learn a little bit about everything, and that can make you a more optimized, better human being, and it allows you to show up in the world a lot differently than you would if you didn't have that. And so like that's why I do the podcast. That's why I provide my own little take on Bitcoin mining. And you know what? If nobody listens to it, who gives a shit? But if it changes the perspective of one person, then I'm happy to do that.
No, I love how you said all that. Yeah, because at the end, well, I love the part where you said if no one listens to it, it's like you're completely okay with it because at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself, and then you want people to hear it. But if they don't, it's like okay, that's fine. But you're still at peace and at balance with the fact that hey, I did it for me, did it for me. And I love the fact that you brought up Joe Rogan. So as far as like everyone's so ones and zeros now as far as like, oh, are you blue? Are you red? Are you left? Are you right? For me, it's, and I'll be honest, as far as Democrats and Republicans go, it's like, dude, like they're all a bunch of capitalists at the end of the day. Social
Two
justice
wings of the
issues.
same bird, man.
Yeah. Social justice issues. Yeah, for sure. Like I'll probably align more with Democrats. But again, I don't need to be one or the other. And that's the thing I realized. And then I have family and friends that are like, yeah, like they'll be more Democrat and whatnot. And it's like I've met people that are like more Republican. I listen to it all, and I think that's important. And people will say certain things that it'll definitely I can feel my blood coming to the surface, and I'm like, oh my god. But at the end of the day, look, at the end of the you got to hear it,
Yeah,
right? You got to hear it.
absolutely.
You don't need to agree with them, but just listen. And you can say, let's say that me and you, Trevor, we disagree on something. I could say, hey, Trevor, I appreciate your opinion. I disagree with it, but I respect what you said, right? And you
Yeah,
can say the same thing to me. And that's it. But I don't have to be like, Trevor, da 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 da. That doesn't do anyone any good at the end
exactly.
of the
And
day.
that's my whole point is that like we can't have constructive conversations that produce good outcomes if we can't see each other's point of view
Mhm.
without our blood boiling. If our
Yeah,
blood
right.
starts to boil and we start screaming at
Yeah.
someone because we're right and they're wrong, there's no constructive nothing happening, and therefore there's nothing being produced that society can use to better the outcome of other people. This at the end of the day, like we all come into this from a different perspective. It's like this whole idea of orange pilling people.
Mhm.
Every maxi that I talk to, not every maxi, but a lot of maxis will say, well, we need to orange pill the world and we need to shove Bitcoin down the throats of everyone so that Bitcoin, hyper decentralizes and yada, yada, yada. And I'm
Woo,
like,
buddy.
it's like, I agree with parts of that. The problem is that everybody has a different perspective on money. And
Yeah.
so you cannot sit here and say Bitcoin is the best money without fundamentally breaking down the person's pre-existing conception of what money is. So until you do that, you're not orange pilling shit. And like, I understand people's perspective when they say, well, I don't trust Bitcoin. It's like, I
Sure.
get it. But then how do we break down, like, why do you trust the federal government? Why do you trust the Federal Reserve? Well, I don't. Okay. Well, now we're getting somewhere. So it's this idea of being able to have a conversation and communicating points of view back and forth before we actually make any progress into like, well, this thing is better because of this, that, and this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Because if someone says, going back to that point of, hey, I don't trust Bitcoin, my question, similar to yours, would be, okay, like, why don't you? Like, tell me. And then hopefully from there, we can start backtracking. Because it's a curious thing of just asking the person. Because the biggest thing is, and again, this is kind of getting into something else now. I'm big into mental health and big into communication nowadays. So one of the things is people want to be heard. Right? That's literally all it is sometimes. It's just like doesn't matter what their opinion is, doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's like they just want to feel heard and they want to feel like someone is listening to them. And we just don't do that. So even that simple question of, okay, why do you think that? What that says is essentially, hey, I hear you. I want to hear your opinion. Please tell me more about it because I want to listen. But it's just unfortunate where we've gotten to, especially, and I can't speak for other countries because I've only grown up in America, but where we've gotten to in America where it's essentially, okay, you're right or you're left, you're red or you're blue. There's no in the middle. You can't be purple. If you're purple, we hate you. Everybody hates you. And then obviously with social media and all the predictive models, and which are so good that they have pushed us even into more silos. Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely on the same wavelength here as far as just talk. Let's just talk. That's it. Okay.
But if you go around my town and you talk to the silent majority of people, they are red. They are
Okay. Right.
conservative, they are
Right.
Republican, they own guns, they want
Yeah.
control, they want freedom, all this stuff. Like, but the large population centers, the large population density like areas are Portland and Eugene, and they have the most say, and they're the most democratic, and they're the most. But nonetheless, if I tell someone in my town and I'm talking to the wrong person, if I say, "Oh, I voted for Donald Trump," well, they'll be like, "Well, you voted for this and you voted for that, and I bet you agree with everything." It's like, no, that's actually not true. Like I have democratic tendencies. I have conservative tendencies. I have Republican tendencies. Like I am all over the spectrum. And just because I voted for Donald Trump because I thought Donald Trump was a better vote than Biden or Harris does not mean that I agree with Donald Trump selling our national land that is the people's land. I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump does. I voted for him because he was, in my opinion, the better part of two evils, but that doesn't mean that I should be siloed into red or Trump.
Yeah.
And most people, like, there is no gray area. It's red or blue. It's not like in between. And that's very frustrating as a Bitcoiner because I feel like I see the world as it truly is. It's kind of like Neo taking off the glasses,
Right. Right. Yeah.
taking the red pill. Yeah, exactly. It's like I actually see the world for like how it works, how it plays out, and I have no like I don't care. I really don't give what you believe in. Are you hurting people? Are you hurting yourself? Are you producing something for society or are you complaining all the time? Because that's going to make me judge you based on those things versus like who you vote for and what you quote unquote believe in, because that's constantly changing for everyone.
That's absolutely correct. So, and I appreciate you sharing who you voted for because I think these are important things that we do need to discuss. Like for myself, I didn't vote for either. Like I looked at Harris and I looked at Trump and I was just like, nah, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, it's like, yes, with Donald Trump, Bitcoin and stuff, great for that. Cryptocurrencies. I mean, well, I guess like depending on how you look at it, it's good now. I have opinions about it like later on, like we'll see what happens. But again, that's my opinion. But for me, growing up as a Muslim American, I was just like, dude, this isn't helping me. Like these presidents just do not care. Everything that's happening, whether it's like you're looking at like Afghanistan, Iraq, and now Gaza. I was like, that's enough, man. I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And that is my stance on it, right?
And you're not wrong.
Yeah, and it's like, but with that, if I said that to people, it was hard. Like I would get like I would have disagreements with people, and
Yeah,
it was
they'll
like,
tell you, well, you voted for the opposition if you didn't vote. Well, like what the does that mean? What do you
yeah,
mean? Who's the
it's
opposition?
yeah,
Like,
and it was just like it's like, look, at the end of the day, you voted for who you voted for, I voted for, they voted for, and it's like, dude, it's fine if we're gonna define people by like who they voted for. It's like this is just getting a little. You can disagree, you can be mad about it, or whatnot, but it's like we don't need to define people by a vote. That's the
yeah,
biggest
I
thing,
agree with that.
and I think the other thing is people need to kind of like yourself, as curious as you are, the voting system's broken. First off, if you look
Yeah.
at the electoral college and whatnot,
Yeah.
you look at the history. Yeah, we've definitely gone way beyond Build a Mind podcast. This is what usually happens, but dude, you definitely like triggered something in me. I'm like, yeah, everything.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like I can generally bullshit about anything because at the end of the day, I have very strong opinions about a lot of things. And like I fundamentally tie everything back to Bitcoin. If you look at a problem in the world, why is it broken? Because we can't communicate with each other and it's funded by a broken money system. Okay, that right there. If we can fix the money, it's this whole thing, fix the money, fix the world. Like I don't think that Bitcoin fundamentally fixes everything. I think what Bitcoin does is it gives us the foundation to fix it ourselves. So you look at politics, you look at education, you look at healthcare, you look at all these things, they're broken because the money's broken. They're broken because we can't communicate with each other. If we can fix the money that they're built on, give it something that's not being fractionally reserved, that's not being debased, that's not being loaned out to, who knows who. We're not sending $6 billion to Ukraine. Like, that changes the way that we start to dynamically improve those systems. And so we as people, like, the system's only as good as we are. You know what I mean? So Bitcoin allows us to have a longer time horizon, lower time preference, start thinking about how we want to show up in the world. And this actually allows us to start thinking about, like, well, what do we want from our education system? What do we want from state healthcare? What do we want from, manufacturers and service providers? What are we willing to spend our money on? And so every conversation I have can be tied back to Bitcoin if you, weave the thread the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it. I'm hearing it. I'm experiencing it. And you're absolutely right as far as like, because I mean, Bitcoin, what it stands for is democratization, right? And that's what we truly want, especially as Americans, because we've been indoctrinated on democracy. Yet then you think about it, we're a republic. And now it's like you think about it even more. We're like, well, I mean, are the politicians really for us? It's like, not exactly. Like, it's like maybe some here and there, but it's like overall, it's like, what is happening? So yeah, tying it back to Bitcoin, I mean, I like that reference point, I would say. So that totally makes sense. Yeah, definitely didn't expect to take it here. I love it though.
It happens. It
Yeah,
happens.
no,
Welcome to podcasting, man.
yeah, I was gonna say that you definitely like triggered something in me, and I was just like, well, like what? Let's go. So, couple more questions for Trevor before we wrap up here. So, if you had unlimited resources, what would your dream mining setup look like?
I love this question. This is
Tell
another
us.
one. I saw this on here and I was like, oh, I've got an answer for you. So by now, your audience knows I'm a heat punk. You know that I'm a Bitcoin maxi. If I had unlimited resources, I would buy a homestead out in the middle of nowhere with a hill and a water source. Okay. Someplace that gets sunny, but also gets cold.
I see where this is going.
What I want to build is a centralized hydro-powered hydro mining facility with a bunch of hash rate. Okay. Powered by the sun and a hydro operation. Maybe we get 25 kilowatts, 30 kilowatts. Be great. What I would then do is I would start to pipe that heat through pipes in the ground to my chicken coop, to my dog kennel, to my garage, to my barn, to my house. And I would heat everything on the property that needs heat through Bitcoin mining. And that power would come from the sun, and it would come from a hydro dam or, a small hydro operation that runs through the property. I would then dump excess heat. If I don't need the heat at the time, I would dump that excess heat back into the river. So basically using it as a giant heat sink so that I could mine 24/7 with the sun and with the hydropower, generating new Bitcoin, helping to produce or to relay transactions and helping to produce hash rate, and living a sovereign lifestyle where all of the heat that my chickens need, all of the heat that my family needs, all of the heat that my homestead needs would be generated through a Bitcoin mining operation. So if I had unlimited resources, I would have a small Bitcoin mining operation that heats my entire homestead and has circular economy style things happening within my own homestead.
You really thought this one through, huh?
Oh, I've thought about it so much, man. I have thought about it so much. It's like the amount of times that I've gone on Zillow looking for like properties with like a small stream with enough of a slope where I'm like, I could put a little hydro operation in there. How much sun does it get? What's it gonna cost? Like, I've thought about it, and it's a lot of money to do something like that. But if I didn't have the constraint of money, that's what I would do.
That's honestly amazing. I mean, yeah, you're just fully sustainable at that point.
Exactly.
Everything, sustainability, baby. So tell me this kind of got me thinking as far as the heat punks that you're talking about, and then just like recycling heat in general. Do you see a future where instead of for your HVAC system, do you see HVAC companies offering, hey, like for heat, instead of doing this, we can actually put in a Bitcoin miner?
Absolutely. Right now, the biggest thing is that we don't have technicians and service providers that understand the technology. You have a few here and there. You have an HVAC technician or an electrician or a plumber who is a Bitcoiner and they are starting to learn how this works. But the biggest issue is that, like with HVAC, with electrical, with plumbing, like there are codes, there's a whole industry built out of like UL listings, which is like a certification that makes sure that your electric infrastructure is safe and, it's not going to cause fires. So like I see us moving towards this where, an HVAC technician, an installer has the option to install a dumb HVAC unit or a smart HVAC unit. And, there's companies right now that are building out these units to make them look and perform very similar to HVAC equipment that exists today. It's going to take time because we need those certifications, we need the brand recognition, but it's happening. You have companies that are building water heaters that they're standalone water heaters that all they need is a power source and a internet connection, and that is going to allow you as a consumer to buy a smart water heater, plug it into the internet, and now you're mining Bitcoin with the water heater that is producing heat. This also has downstream effects because your plumber might install a water heater, standard, stupid, dumb water heater. And they're not incentivized to make sure that that water heater is performing to its full capacity, its full efficiency. They just install it, they walk away from the project, and they get a call 15, 20 years later because the water heater broke again.
Mm-hmm.
But what if that plumber now gets a portion of the Bitcoin mining reward that you get when your heater is running? Well, now that plumber is incentivized to make sure that your water heater is
Wow.
always working. So every 6 months when it needs serviced, what are they going to do? They're going to say, hey, Ridwan, we need to come out there. We need to change out the heat core on your water heater, and we're going to do it absolutely free. This has these of effects where the service providers can then be incentivized to maintain and keep running your equipment because they're getting paid a small percentage. And you know what? It might be like 1 or 2%, but if you like exponentially increase that, let's say a plumber has, 150 water heaters that he's installed over the course of 10 years, but he's making a couple sats off of each one, that is huge. You know what I mean? And the Bitcoin network allows us to do things like this. The mining network allows us to do things like this. So I do believe that as we progress into the future, as we have more events like the Heat Punk Summit in Denver, we start getting HVAC technicians, we start getting technicians in general, service providers to understand this. We start teaching them, and then we start getting UL listings and certifications on the units themselves to make it safe to install. We start to see them being installed in more and more places. There's a great person, if you guys, this is going to the audience, if you're very curious about the heat reuse industry, you want to learn about this, I highly recommend that you look into Cade Peterson from Softwarm LLC. He's been building a bunch of really cool operations in Idaho. With his company, they've actually installed heating equipment into a car wash. They've installed heating equipment into a concrete mixing plant, and then a couple other things that they've done as well. He's been building heated driveways because it snows a lot there. So
Wow. Very
really
nice.
cool guy. And then if you're curious about the engineering side, the technical side, I highly recommend that you go to Schnitzel. He is just absolutely a phenomenal resource. Nakamoto Heating Solutions is, I
Mhm.
think, his website.
Okay.
He's built a hot tub that was powered off of
Wow.
a Bitcoin miner and a couple other water heating scenarios. And then also, like, if you don't know how to get a hold of them, you can always contact me. I may not be the most like versed and educated about like the engineering side of it, but I'm always curious and I'm always down to like point you in the right direction. So you can always reach out to me on my social medias, on my podcast, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. No, that's so helpful. And I'll list all those below here. Trevor, honestly, thank you so much for being with us on Bitcoinomics 21. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up here to the audience, or anything else you want to say?
Yeah, don't be afraid to get off zero. If you're listening to this, you're probably already a Bitcoiner, which is great, but don't be afraid to look at your life and evaluate like the way that you could do things better. You don't have to ask permission in the world. I mean, a lot of people, the government included, are going to say, yes, you do. You do have to ask permission. But to be honest, you don't. You can just do things. You can, around and find out. You might break things here or there, but that's okay. That's part of the learning process. So just, stay humble, stack sats, stay solvent, mind Bitcoin.
That's amazing, man. I appreciate those ending message to the audience. You heard it here, folks. Trevor Bello from Bitcoin Mining World and then Build a Mine podcast. So really do appreciate you being here and being our first guest. So
Yeah,
thanks again, man.
I was the first guest.
And you're the first one, man.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
I feel
you're
honored at this point, man.
Oh, you didn't realize that? You're the first one.
I didn't even realize it. No, that's great. And this was my first podcast appearance that was not like a combined podcast. I've done a couple of those, but this was fun. I really appreciated it. And anytime you want to have me back on, just reach out. I'll be happy to talk to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks again, Trevor. Well, we'll talk to you. See ya. And that wraps up another episode of Bitcoinomics. Like, comment, and subscribe, and join us next time.